Welcome to our last lesson in this unit, and it is called Parallel and Perpendicular Lines, Part 2. So we're going to start with a little bit of warm-up. Which lines are parallel? Explain how you know. How do we know which of these lines are parallel with each other? All right, so we're looking for lines that have the same slope, and slope is the m in the equation y equals mx plus b. So we're looking for the value that is in front of the x. So we've got 3 over 5, 5 over 3, 3, and then back here we've got 3 over 5 again. So we're looking for ones that are the same, and that would be this line and this line. All right, they would be parallel. What about perpendicular? So perpendicular lines have negative reciprocals for slopes, which means that if this line has a slope of 4, the negative reciprocal would be the flipped version, and then you change the sign. So we're looking for 1 over 4, and it has to be negative. And it looks like this one here would have negative 1 over 4 as a slope. So this line would be perpendicular to this line. And then here we've got 1 over 4. Negative reciprocal would be negative 4, right? You flip it to get 4 over 1 and change the sign. This line over here, it has a negative 4, but that is the y-intercept, right? Because remember, we're looking at the numbers that are in front of the x. So this has a slope of negative 3. So it's a little bit of a trick. Those are not perpendicular to each other. All right. State whether the lines with the given slopes are parallel, perpendicular, or neither, and then use the proper symbols. All right, so for parallel, we're going to use two vertical lines. Perpendicular looks like an upside down T, and then neither, we're going to use a capital N. So looking at these two lines, or these two slopes, they are flipped, but they're the same sign. So we're going to say neither. B, 3 over 8, and 6 over 16. If you take 6 over 16 and divide the top and bottom by 2, you will end up with 3 over 8. So these are the same slope, so these are parallel. These are flipped, and one's positive, one's negative, which means they're perpendicular. D, we've got 5 and then 2 over negative 10. So signs are opposite. If you reduce 2 over 10, right, divide the top and bottom by 2, you will get negative 1 over 5, which is the negative reciprocal of 5. So perpendicular. 3 over 4, another way of writing 3 over 4 is 0.75, right? You get a calculator out and punch in 3 divided by 4, you will get 0.75. So those are the same, so parallel. 1 and 1/3, so changing that, 3 times 1 is 3 plus 1 is 4. So this is equivalent to 4 over 3. So those are the same, therefore parallel. Negative 1 and 4/7 and negative 7 over 11. Those are the same signs. This value is not equivalent to this value, the second value, because this would give you 7 times 1 is 7 plus 4 would be 11. So this is equivalent to negative 11 over 7. So they're flipped, but the signs are the same, which means it's not going to be perpendicular. So neither. And 0.25 is equivalent to 1 over 4, which is a negative reciprocal to negative 4. So those are perpendicular. And the last one, 4 over 5 is equal to 0.8. So we've got 0.8 and negative 0.8. They're not negative reciprocals, which means it's going to be neither. All right, next question. Determine whether the pair of lines given are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. Explain how you know. All right, so you're given two equations in standard form, and in order to be able to check if they're parallel, perpendicular, or neither, you've got to take a look at their slopes. Well, you can't see what their slopes are by looking at them in this form, so let's change them to y equals mx plus b first, and then we can compare their slopes. So for the first one, it looks like it's almost in y equals mx plus b form. Just the negative 2 in the front is a problem. So let's divide every term by negative 2 first. And that will give us y equals 3 over 2x plus 3. Let's see what the slope of the second line is going to be. Let's divide every term by 3. And look at that. So it looks like the slope of the first line is 3 over 2. The second line has a slope of negative 2 over 3. You can see we flipped it and they have opposite signs. So these are definitely going to be perpendicular. Okay, next question. Write the equation for each line. So we've got a line. We want to write the equation of a line that is parallel to this line. So it has the same steepness, but it passes through this point. How do we do that? Well, if it's going to be parallel to this line, that means it has the same slope, right? So we know the slope of our line is negative 2 over 3. Now, let's use the slope and that point to find our b, the y-intercept. What is the y-intercept of our line? Okay, so I replace my y with 9 because we're going to use the point for our x and y. All right, so my x is going to be negative 6 and my y is going to be 9. And I've replaced my m with negative 2 over 3 and the x with the 6, or negative 6. Multiply those together. Negative 2 times negative 6 is 12. 12 divided by 3 is 4. Bring the 4 to the other side, subtract it. So 9 minus 4 is 5. So there's our b. All right, so now we have our m, we have our b, we can write our equation. For the line y equals 5x subtract 3 over 4, state the slope that is parallel and perpendicular. Okay, so parallel means that it's going to have the same slope, right? It's going to be 5. What if it's perpendicular? What is the new slope going to be? Well, it has to be the negative reciprocal of a 5, which is 1 over 5, and then change the sign. So negative 1 over 5. Write the equation for each line. X-intercept of negative 2 and perpendicular to this equation here. Okay, so if we're given x equals negative 2, x-intercept equals negative 2, that gives us an actual point on the x-axis, negative 2 comma 0. So we have an x and a y. And it's perpendicular to this line. Another way of writing that line would be 1 over 3x plus 0. If it's perpendicular to that line, the slope has to be the negative reciprocal of 1 over 3. Negative reciprocal of 1 over 3 would be 3 over 1, and then make it negative. All right, switch the sign. So to find b, we're going to use our m, right, our slope, and the point that's given to us. M is negative 3, point is negative 2 comma 0. Okay, put those into your equation. Negative 3 times negative 2 is 6. And then bring the 6 to the other side, b equals negative 6. And you can write your equation. And the last couple questions. These ones, I thought it would be easier to graph, all right, to get a visual. You don't have to do all these algebraically. If it's easier to write the equation from a graph, if visual helps, then do that instead. So here we're given, we want to write an equation of a line that is parallel to x equals 3, and it passes through the point negative 4 comma 7. Okay, so what does the equation x equals 3 look like? All right, an equation that starts with the letter x instead of y is going to be a vertical line. Okay, and it's going to cross at 3. 1, 2, 3. So the equation x equals 3 would look like this. And it has to pass through the point negative 4, 7. So where's negative 4, 7? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There you go. It's just double checking my work. All right. So we want a line that's going to be parallel to the red line, but it passes through that green dot. Well, it's going to sit right here. Okay. And what is the equation of that line? It's a vertical line crossing at what number? 1, 2, 3, 4. Negative 4. So the equation is x equals negative 4. Okay, this is perfectly fine. You don't have to solve it algebraically. What about a line that's perpendicular to x equals negative 2? Perpendicular to x equals negative 2 and passes through 2, negative 8. All right, so x equals negative 2, what does that look like? It's a vertical line at x equals negative 2, and it passes through the point 2, negative 8. So where is that on our graph? Over 2 and then down 8. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, now perpendicular means that instead of being vertical, our line's going to be horizontal, right? It has to cross that red line at a 9-degree angle. So I'm going to put my equation right in the spot here. Okay, it's perpendicular and it passes through that green dot. So what is the equation of that line? Well, it has a slope of 0, right? It's a horizontal line. It has a y-intercept of negative 8. Okay, that means our equation is y equals negative 8. So those are all the examples that I have for you. You are going to be working on your last homework assignment, and it is lesson 7, unit 5, and it's on page 11, it looks like. Yeah, it's on page 11. There's 7 questions for you to try. And yeah, that will be the last thing that I'm going to ask you to submit. Thank you so hard. Thank you so much for working so hard while you've been home for the last few months. I know it hasn't been easy. One last thing that I am going to post for you, and it is optional. I know some students have asked me for some practice questions for, the exam. I can't post an exam, but I do have an exam review for you to try. So if you give it a try over the next week or so, you can ask me for help. Or if you want to save it and, work on it over the summer, maybe when it gets closer to September, just to kind of get yourself ready for grade 10, that's an option as well. All right. Good luck with the last set of homework questions, and let me know if you need some help.